Hi, I'm Michael Valitutti, and I'm here to show you behind the scenes. And my effort with these videos is really to show you what goes into manufacturing gems on Vogue, kind of like pull back the curtain and show you everything, like anything from gem sorting to gem identification, and also jewelry manufacturing. Because honestly, without jewelry, what would a gemstone be? It would just be something loose floating around in a bag. We need quality jewelry. Now, one of the things that I think really makes Gems on Vogue different is where I'm standing right here. This is our own factory. You know, ladies and gentlemen, when I started in this business 40 years ago, jewelry manufacturing in Canada, the United States, North America was common. Everybody was doing it back then. In today's world, everything is overseas, and factories like this are virtually gone from our shores. But guess what? Gems on Vogue is still here, and we are still manufacturing in North America. The main advantage is not just that it sounds good, but it's that it gives us control. So I'm going to illustrate to you here some of the basics of gemstone setting, but the idea is that we control it here. This is how I can speak so passionately. It's not just about me going overseas and getting the gemstones and sorting them over there, but it's about us being in control of the manufacturing process. And I think this is why our quality has consistently stayed high. So here is Ken. Now, Ken is a great guy. I've worked with him since I started in this company. I remember his dad. His dad worked here because this is a multi-generational company. People that have worked here, some of them, like in Ken's case, their fathers started here before, taught Ken everything that he knows. And what he's doing is, he's doing a basic setting. Now, setting is a lot more complicated than people think it is. First of all, look at all the little tools that he has there. These are called burrs. They're like mini rotating files. And he uses these to create seats and to create patterns inside the metal that will actually hold the stone. So this is the basis of setting, first of all. When you set a stone, you're basically holding it in place. So the gemstone sits in a seat, just like Ken is sitting in a seat, that you sit in a seat. The gemstone actually sits inside of a little sort of, oftentimes it's a V-shaped pod, and it just sits in there, okay? Then the prongs are like clips. And those prongs will hold the stone in their seat, almost like as if I had a strap holding them down. It's kind of like the same overall principle. Now, I'm really simplifying it here. The prongs, of course, he has to do what's called undercutting, and that's all completely done by hand. There's no machines that do this, folks. This is all done by hand. So whether you're buying a charm from Gems on Vogue and spending $65, or whether you're buying an item from us in gold and spending $800, $1,000, $2,000, the process, the workmanship, the personnel is exactly the same. So what Ken does, and he has his visors, the magnification now, he takes a look at the stone. Stones have a girdle. The girdle is the outermost portion of the gemstone, almost like the rim of a plate. He takes a look at that girdle, he makes an assessment as to the thickness of the girdle, whether it's been bruted, whether it's rounded, whether it's flat, and then using various burrs and tools, he will make the undercut, and then of course he will then set the stone accordingly. Now right now what he's doing some of the bead setting. So in this particular case, this stone is probably going to be, I would estimate, a cushion cut, maybe 10 by 10 millimeter. And then, of course, he's making all the bead work for all the other little stones that go around it. Now, the process, this is called prong setting. It's kind of the same if we were going to do something called bezel setting. Bezel setting, I want you to imagine, you know how you have the 4 prongs there? Imagine it being just one big prong. Remember, the stone always has to sit inside of a seat. But instead of having just 4 prongs or 6 prongs, the bezel, it's almost like a rim of metal, completely surrounds the stone, and it's just clipped. That's actually very, very hard to do. He's an expert at doing that, because when you bend the metal over the stone, he has to take a very sharp tool. It's almost like a mini knife, and he has to carve around the bezel. Now, when he does that, he only gets one shot at it. It's got to be hard enough to cut away the metal, but you can't scratch the stone, and it's got to be like one uniform cut. It's almost like if you ever done any caulking at home. You can't just go over and over with your finger. It has to be done in one sort of line for it to have that even caulking. That's the sign of a true professional. That's something that he has to do. I take a look at these tools here, and these are basically the same tools that were used when I started in this business. That there hasn't been a lot of progression in science and technology with this, because jewelry manufacturing is still very much an art form. It's a physical skill. It's like carpentry. or painting. It's a skill. It's something that you learn, something that you acquire. It's a form of expertise. And this is why we're able to do the quality work that we do. And because Ken has such a great hand-eye coordination, he also is responsible for doing any of our engraving. If I ever have a Gems on Vogue piece that has a lot of engraving and that tooled work, he is the gentleman that does that. Very, very highly skilled. There is using a little Dremel tool there, and what that's doing is that's making all the undercuts. And these are called burrs. The reason that they call them burrs, they make a burring sound, believe it or not, when we use them. When you're dealing in very small stones, small diamonds, which is what he's setting now, that vacuum pump holds the stone in place and sets it perfectly. So that's exactly what he's doing here. And look at the strength he has in his hands. And that's called a pin that he's holding it in. And these, again, are ancient techniques. I mean, I'm used to it. I've been here for so many decades. But this is what it takes to set your jewelry. And again, no matter how much you pay or how little you pay, each and every single Gems on Vogue piece is set exactly this way. Quality manufacturing really stems from experience, from knowing what you're doing, from decades of business. So you want quality, you want value, you want things the way they used to be made. We're still making it this way right here at the home of Gems on Vogue. And this is a little behind the scenes peek into what goes into making your jewelry. You can see here all the tools, everything that he uses. He's proud of what he does. I'm proud of what I do. And together we make, I think, the best, most affordable jewelry in the world.